My name is Arthur Padilla, and my company is Strategy Works, and we're a limited liability company here in the state of Washington. We do education and we do strategic work with boards, nonprofit boards, and primarily we do adult education. And we actually end up doing a lot of program evaluation for really, really large programs across the country. So that's really a fun part of our work, but those are the two things that we do. We actually bought an AI, an artificial intelligence name changer, name caller. And we went through and we put all of the info in, and it came up with about, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 options. And we said, oh, wow, okay. And we went through all the options. And then this one just struck us. And we said, oh, that's kind of fun. Well, that's kind of interesting. My path to the nonprofit world was actually early on. I started in, I'm thinking back, it was very early. I think early for me. It was probably 82, 83, something like that. I was, I'm thinking I was probably 2 years out of being completely homeless kind of thing. I was not living homeless any longer. So that was it was an interesting time in my life. I wasn't living on the streets. I was still very housing insecure, but I found that working in the community that I was working with, I got swept up into all of the AIDS activism actually in a very small community in northern New Mexico, but we were doing marches and we were doing all of the ACT UP stuff. And, here I was, a young person, doing stickers all over, getting in trouble, doing all of that activism. But we did the, silence equal death thing for months until it was that time when everyone started making a difference and started making a noise. And that's where I became involved. And then I started working in HIV and AIDS in Southern Arizona and in a nonprofit and in public health. And it just, from there, I've been involved ever since. And I became a nonprofit junkie because I just, I love it. When I decided to go on my own as a consultant, I took about 6 months to find my first gig. And the first gig was in Alaska. And that was doing program evaluation. Right. And it was a really odd set of circumstances, but I ended up evaluating a statewide program that they've been doing with the Department of Ed for years and years. And it was a cultural immersion program. Oh my God. It was the best work ever. I learned so much about what it means to do culturally relevant education and the work it takes to do that well, and the time and energy. They just taught me so much, these young women. It was really priceless work. But I worked in Alaska for about 8 years. Once I got that particular job, I started working with a whole bunch of different entities in Alaska doing education and evaluation. I joined because I was definitely feeling a little isolated in working with other consultants. And mostly because when you call up other consultants, they immediately feel like you want to compete or you want something from or something. So it was this weird dynamic where I'm like, no, I just need support. But it was difficult for people to understand what that meant, I think. And for me, it's been about the relationships. It really has been about how do I connect with people? How do I talk to people? And being able to spend one-on-one time with other consultants. And a lot of it is, what happened? What are you doing? How did this work? What didn't work? What do you think of this product that I'm working on? I've gotten a lot of folks to give me feedback on stuff, which is really great. And then they get to see a little bit about how someone else approaches the same work, that kind of stuff. So it's been really helpful in that way. And I think for me, it is about building relationships. And, there have been some extra special ones, like people that now I feel like are friends. Even with this Empower group, which has been part of that connection with all of these folks, we had a meeting and I just kind of spilled my guts about my current situation where I'm at. And I cried and, emoted, and it was a big old heavy experience, but it was such a great meeting, right? Because there was a place and space to actually do that and put that out there and kind of talk about how difficult it is. And one of the things that we found in our Empower group is that there is resonance around feeling the impacts of oppression, and being LGBTQI, we feel it, and we realize that often you're passed up because of that. It's just easy for folks to say, well, that's a good enough reason, let's just go with this other guy. And I don't think I wanted to acknowledge the reality of that, and I think we all are kind of starting to see that. But it's just, again, the space and place to actually do that as professionals. It's not very common, right? And and the fact that we have that connection with each other, that we've spent enough time with each other as individuals, that we like each other enough, and there's something valuable about that. So again, priceless. In 2 years, this is the best one so far. 6 months ago, it was joining the board. That was the best thing so far, right? So every time, it's because of my engagement that everything has changed over time, because I've been able to participate and to engage differently. But it's been the engagement and spending the time building the relationship that it gets better. So again, it took 2 years to get to this place. I'm like, wow, that was superb experience. And then what's going to happen next, right? So I don't know what's going to be the next part of engaging. I think the best thing I can think of, and I heard this from a grade school teacher a long time ago. She said, I put yet up on my board at the beginning of the school year. She's a second grade teacher. And all the kids, whenever we do something, whenever someone says, oh, I just can't do that, or I'm not, she'll say, and all the kids will say, yet, right? So they learn over the course of the year to speak about and to really emphasize the power of yet. And so that's really the point of how to engage here. You might not be there yet, but it is about taking the time to make those relationships. And then you're going to find that next level of benefit where you'll start to see that cohesion, the familiar faces, the connection, the conversations. You'll start to see that. And then you'll do the next level where you'll feel engaged. And then it becomes a personal value to you. And that's when you say, that's when you get there. You'll get there, and you're not there yet, right? It takes a little bit of time for that value to really integrate and say, like, what is important about this? And for some, it's the education. For some, it's the learning about each other. For me, it's the relationships. My volunteer engagement with ACN really began when I was invited to do a panel, and that was fairly early on, and around DEIA, around diversity, equity, inclusion, and assessment, and access. And so I was really, so I got involved with that, and that really helped for me. It connected me to a lot of folks really quickly, and that was a really great first step. And then after that, I got interested in membership, and I started talking to the membership committee, which is the membership committee of the board, about membership and what does that mean and that kind of stuff. And I started getting interested in the board a little bit, and I started talking to people, and then it was really actually connecting with folks that were on the board and talking to folks that I was asked to participate on the board. So I did that, and that was super exciting because we got to do, it was just looking at it from a different perspective, right? And that was after a year. So it took me a year to get there and to look at it from a different perspective. During that time, I did all of the presentations that I could and all that kind of stuff, which were actually quite fun. So I was really as engaged as possible. And then when the board came up, that was really easy to volunteer on. And then when I joined the membership committee, we were really active. It was a really active committee. We were super engaged, and we were really trying to figure out what our next step was and how do we integrate with what everybody else was doing. And part of that was developing empower groups. And that was a really great outcome of this collective work that we were doing. And the empowered groups were spawned by membership. It just came up. People said, I want to do this. We thought about it a little bit. We wrestled with the terminology, but as a member, right, there was a lot of, even just thinking about it in terms of that, there was a lot of power in the participation of it all. And then when it actually happened, I was able to join one, and then, oh my God, the ramifications and the consequences of being a member of the empowerment group are extraordinary. And for me, they were really extraordinary. They were really, and quite personal, and wow, yeah. Well, I've had a couple of very good connections. The one from May that has been super solid has been David that was part of the membership group, and we had connected before any of my volunteer activities, probably because of him, because he kept calling me. He was really good at that. But we also had a connection. We had a similar life, and we had similar aspirations, and a lot of our work was similar. And so every time we talked, we learned a huge amount. It was just amazing. So for me, it was David. He didn't pacify me in any way. He didn't let me off the hook in any way. He was very big brotherly, but he was more like, I'm kind of sick of you bitching and groaning about this. You got to get off your duff and do it. He was really, it was a different kind of really kind of tough love thing, but that doesn't happen very often. You have to really trust somebody to be able to be that confrontive. And he did that. And I was like, it's super special. So in my life, that's really hard to come by, in as far as valuable relationships. So that's one of many, but that one was super special. And then of course, all the other people that I have just been able to talk to, like Shay Lucy, we get to talk about interim stuff, right? And how we both do that. There are not a lot of interims in the group, and that's interesting. We should do an empower group or interims, but that one's an interesting, because it's an interesting different perspective. And then there's and right now I have meetings scheduled with ACN members for the next few weeks. I do about one every other week so that I can pace it out and meet people, right? So I love that part. It is the best. The website overall is pretty good because it gives you everything I need, right? It gives you all of the info that you want. It gives you all of the calendar and the schedule, and it gives you access to all of those videos. So if you miss something, you can always go back and watch it. So again, the resource overall from the website is really good. But what do I use regularly? That's how I go find folks, is I'm looking for someone, I want to talk to this person, or I'm looking to do this and I want to get some feedback. So then I'll go to the directory and use that. And so I think that's the one that I've used the most. Now I read all the RFPs. I find them super fascinating. I've only applied for 2 of the RFPs that I've received, but I have applied for 2. So those are the 2 things, I think. Why? Pet peeve. Oh, people asking why. Favorite snack. Oh, this is not good. Oreo. Oh, my Chihuahua. Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan. It's true. I love Carl Sagan. He was the, I don't know, he was like the hero of our time that no one listened to, that no one paid attention to. He's the smartest man ever. He was just a beautiful human being that just wanted to do the right thing, right? And you read all of his books and all that stuff, and he's just, he's my favorite. Yeah, I want to be him when I grow up.